All right, so Celtics versus Mavericks game 3 was one of the most disappointing NBA games I have watched in a while. So as a fan of basketball, whether it's the NBA, WNBA, college basketball, whatever the case may be, the absolute last thing you ever want to see is a sweep in a championship series. That's the last thing you want to see. For the first round, seeing a sweep is okay, right? It's not too bad to get a couple of sweeps in the first round. Second round, it starts getting annoying. Conference finals is really annoying. In the NBA finals, it's absolutely horrible. The last thing you want to see as a fan is to wait an entire season of great basketball, so many different contenders, for it to just come down to a series sweep. And they're up 3-0. The Celtics are, so it's not a sweep just yet. But in the eyes of fans, going down 3-0 pretty much signifies a victory for the team that's up 3-0. Maybe Dallas pulls off a win in game 5, but I don't see them, or game 4, but I don't see them coming into Boston in game 5 and winning another one after that, especially with the way they've been playing so far this series. So it's just annoying to see out of reach series like this where a team has to climb out of this huge rut that's just really unlikely to climb out of. As a fan, you want to see classics. You want to see these down the wire series. You want to see 7-game series, which we have not gotten in the NBA in a very, very long time. It's almost been 10 years, I think, since the last time we got a 7-game series. We have a couple of 6-game series over the last couple of years. I think the Bucks versus Suns series was 6 games. We had 6 games in Celtics versus Warriors, but still, right? Last 2 seasons, looking at last year, we just had a 5-gamer. This year is looking like it's going to be a 4-gamer, or at best a 5-gamer. So it's annoying to see as a fan. So tonight I was pulling heavily for Dallas to win it so they could try to keep the series as close as possible, so we can get as much basketball as possible, so we could possibly see the best of this Kyrie and Luka duo in the finals. This was their perfect window. This was their perfect opportunity. No Porzingis for Boston. Major shot blocking. He averaged nearly like 3 block shots per game throughout the first couple of games of the series, and major floor spacing. Floor spacing is essential to the Celtics offense, and he's one of the best shooters on this team. So that's a major advantage with Porzingis being out. Also, home court advantage. Home court advantage is absolutely huge. So you have those 2 things in your favor tonight. And so to go along with that, Dallas had 2 things to really focus on. For one, Kyrie had to get it going offensively, which he did. He was amazing. He was the best player on the court for this Mavericks team from an offensive standpoint. Also defensively, he was getting after it. He was pretty solid, as he's been throughout the entire postseason. And also, Dallas had to limit Boston's 3-point attempts. That, to me, that should have been priority number 1, because the defense has been pitiful for Dallas so far. They could not let Boston get those easy 3-point looks up. Boston is so good at getting high efficiency looks. A lot of people talk about them shooting a lot of threes. They shoot a lot of threes because they get a lot of good 3-point looks. Dallas has offered no resistance to that. That had to be a major point of emphasis tonight. So they kind of went zone to start the game to try to limit Boston's 3-point attempts, and they spent a large amount of time throughout the entire game in that zone, like a 2-3 zone and things like that. Boston still gets up 46 3-point attempts, which is the most of the series so far. So your number 1 priority is trying to limit Boston from a 3-point attempt standpoint. They get up 46. That's 3 more than their regular season average. They were number 1 in the league with 43 per game, 46 3-point attempts. Your biggest point of emphasis was limiting the 3-point shots, and they still got them up. And even when they weren't going in, like in the first half, they were still really, really good looks. Joe Mazzulla kept talking about that. He talked about it at the halftime period and also throughout the timeouts when they had him mic'd up. Guys, we're getting really, really good looks. Keep doing what we're doing. And they were able to win it because of the high efficiency looks they were able to get up. Even with being attacked with the zone defense, or even with being attacked with the man-to-man defense when they kind of switched to that, they still got what they wanted. Their top priority is penetrate and kick, rotate the ball, punish defenses and put them in rotation, and find shooters. They found those shooters, and those guys got amazing looks up. Dallas, again, offered no resistance to the 3-point shooting of Boston. Boston got great looks and punished them for that. Side note, we would have to start talking about this Celtics team as one of the greatest 3-point shooting teams of all time. Seriously. I mean, especially with the way things have been in this series, they have just punished this Dallas Mavericks squad from the 3-point line. Even when they weren't going in, they still got so many great looks. Dallas's defense was just not up to par. They didn't look well prepared. They didn't stay consistent in rotations. Yes, they picked it up in the fourth quarter to come back from being down 20, but still, you should never bank on having to make a 20-point comeback, especially in the NBA Finals. They did not do a good job of doing their work ahead of time. Also, let's talk about this. Luka, we know he's an amazing offensive force, but his defense continues to be an issue. Now, he's young. This is kind of good for him. This is his first NBA Finals appearance. Your first Finals appearance, you get to see a lot of weaknesses about yourself. We saw that happen with LeBron James, saw that happen with Kevin Durant. So this is a wake-up call for Luka to really lock in from a defensive standpoint. And the good thing is he's been trending upwards as far as defense throughout this postseason, but there is still levels to this, and he needs to take it to another level this offseason. Going into next season, he has to really focus on being a strong enough defensive player to where he's not a liability out there on the perimeter. Because if you're a liability on the perimeter, it's very, very hard for your team to try to hide you on the defensive end. You could hide like a Nikola Jokic because he's a big, right? And sometimes you can stick Jokic on like a non-shooter so he can kind of roam around the paint. You can't do that with Luka Doncic. Those guards, those perimeter guys are going to hunt him, and they went at him. They punished him. Today they made him foul out. So I think one of the biggest things we have to talk about this series, one of the biggest individual storylines is Luka's struggles from a defensive standpoint. A lot of people are talking about Tatum struggling offensively. I think the biggest storyline, the biggest negative storyline for any star player in the series is Luka's lack of defense. Period, point blank. I think that's been one of the most glaring things. Even when they're playing zone, you still have to do your job. And he's getting blown by. He's blowing coverages. His back is turned the wrong way, and guys are kind of cutting around him and things like that. So Luka just has to get stronger from a defensive standpoint. People aren't talking about it enough right now in the media because so much concentration has been on Jason Tatum's inefficient shooting. But Jason Tatum's been inefficient, and he's still winning. Meanwhile, Luka's really blowing it defensively, and his team is down 0-3. So we have to talk a lot about that. And again, he's young. He's got a lot of time to figure that part of his game out, but he has to get it right because you cannot go into the NBA Finals and expect to win a championship while being a liability on the defensive end. If your team needs you out there on the court offensively, you also have to be solid enough defensively to where you're not a liability. So that's one thing I really wanted to talk about was Luka's defense needs a ton of work. That's one big storyline I don't think people have been focusing on enough out of this series. Also, Dallas's offense just got really, really stagnant. You're not running a good offense if you're relying on contested looks a lot of times. I don't know how many times this series where I can say Dallas got off a really, really good look. There are like a handful of times. Maybe PJ Washington got good shots at the corner or like with these above the break threes. But generally, from what I've seen, they have not generated amazing looks. There have been a lot of contested shots, especially tonight. Kyrie was amazing, but he hit a lot of difficult shots. If your offense is consistently falling into this position to where you're relying on your best two guys to just hit difficult shots every possession down, it's not a good offense, especially when you're matching up against a team that can defend that and also generate efficient, easy looks on the other end. So Dallas's offense is one thing that's really, really in question. And I know it was good enough to get them to the finals, but this isn't the first time we've seen this style of play hit a wall. So we can talk about Luka, which I just did. We can talk about Kyrie and the role players, but I think the system isn't working. The way they're playing isn't going to be sustainable to win a title. You should not be running an offense where you're consistently running into situations where you're getting a bunch of difficult contested looks. I said this before, and you can kind of go look at the videos. Dallas is going to play a very one-on-one centric offense that's dependent upon hunting mismatches. The tough thing about doing that with Boston, there aren't a lot of mismatches you can go out there and hunt with this Celtics team. All of those guys on the floor are great defenders. Even Sam Hauser, he's always been a really good defensive player this season. He came out there tonight. He was so good from a defensive perspective. So this offense also needs to be examined and looked at. And that was one big reason why they weren't able to get over the hump. And again, I know they had that big run in the fourth quarter, but in your heart, in your chest, you just knew because this is the way they play, because they never found any consistent rhythm defensively, or they never found anything that consistently worked defensively throughout this entire series so far, in the back of your mind, you knew that the Celtics were going to be able to figure their way out of that comeback and pull out with the win. Because even when they came back from down 20 and got it close, I just knew something was going to happen. because there was not something they were good enough consistently at from a defensive perspective to keep that run going, to keep that momentum going. Over to Boston, Jaylen Brown this game was just flat out unbelievable. He's been flat out unbelievable this entire postseason. Just furious with his playing style, really aggressive, getting after it defensively. There was one possession where he's picking up Luka full court and he's just completely hounding him. I mean, just hounding him on the defensive end. We even think about the clutch buckets he was hitting, that huge dunk. Jaylen Brown's mindset this season, and he's always had a great mindset about him. He's always been a very competitive player. You've never had to question the intangibles of Jaylen Brown. But this game, in this series especially, this season, the aura, I know people say aura a lot, but the aura around Jaylen Brown was just different. He just seemed like a different player. He knows what time it is. He knows this is absolutely championship or bust. I don't think there's a more championship or bust team than the Celtics. And he's gone out there and he's played with this reckless abandon that's just been unmatched. It's been unbelievable. So shout out to JB for the way he's been playing. He is definitely the finals MVP. Just unbelievable on both sides of the basketball. And he's totally rose to the moment. So great win here for the Celtics. If they could win this game, being down 20 away or staving off a 20-point comeback away, being on the road, Kyrie's playing well and all of those things, getting a different look thrown at you defensively with this zone where they spend a heavy amount of time in zone. If they won this game, I don't know what else Dallas can do right now to get deeper into their bag and try to win this series. I don't know what other things Dallas can do. I don't know what other monkey wrenches they can throw in there to try to counter the Boston Celtics on both ends. I think they've thrown out everything they could at this point. I really do. And like I said, the thing about the series is it's two teams that have a similar playing style, very heliocentric at times, maybe more so with Dallas, where they're kind of sitting out there and hunting mismatches. But the thing is, Boston is more fit, more suited to defend that than Dallas is. So we'll see what happens in game 4. And look, I would love to see a miraculous 3-0 comeback, but I just don't think it's going to happen because I think Dallas has exhausted everything at this point on both ends of the basketball. And I just don't think this style of basketball they play is a winning style of basketball, especially on the offensive end. So we'll see what happens, but a very disappointing loss for the Mavericks when they had everything in their favor and everything in their advantage here in game 3.